Okay, we're doing this right from the cuff. I'm not prepared, so we're going to see how this goes out. I have been working for over a year on organizing and understanding and training on why the body uses rotation for strength, power, and torque, and yet when we run, we're not utilizing our rotation. We're trying to run forward, run backwards instead of rotating. I've got a little bit more information. When I talk about rotating while we run, it's because muscle in our body, almost every muscle in our body, in addition to having a lever force, also has a rotational component. In addition, our spine is made. Imagine stacking a bunch of discs on each other. Let's use hockey pucks. If I stack 10 hockey pucks on each other, are they good at bending left or right or forward and back? No. You go a little too far, they fall down. Go forward, they fall down. Go back, they fall down. What are they really good at? Rotating. You can rotate them nonstop, and they are not going to fall. Okay? That's what they're doing. That's what they're built for. This is our spine. In addition, we look at our pelvis. Really not a lot of anterior posterior movement in our pelvis. So when it comes to hip flexion and extension, our pelvis really doesn't add anything to it. What does our pelvis do instead? Our pelvis has muscles all over it that if we look at them, their number one ability is to stretch and snap back, stretch and snap back. Okay? We can look at that if we just stand here. If I'm standing and I stretch my muscles to the right, what do they naturally do? They snap me back. Stretch them to the left. They snap me back. There is no muscular energy required for me to snap back. Put my right foot forward, turn to the right, I snap back. Left foot forward, turn to the left, I snap back. Guess what? That's the motion of running. The motion of running is a rotation and then a snap back. Now, here's what's even better. If I look all the way down my body, hamstrings, adductors, any muscle you can imagine, they have a sense of rotation to them. Okay? When they fire best in a rotational motion. I had a little bit of an extra thought today when it comes to rotation and running and walking. That thought was how if we utilize gravity to move forward, which I believe in the pose method of running, which is a teaching method where we utilize gravity to move forward. Okay. If I pick up one foot, lean forward, gravity takes over my body, all I do is switch feet and I have a forward movement. Now, why does that and rotation combine for best and proper movement? Well, rotation is what keeps our body stable. When you're on a bicycle, if you stand still, why do you fall over? Because there's no force of rotation to keep you going. Once you start pedaling and you add the force of rotation to that bicycle, it stays upright. Motorcycle, bicycle, etc. In addition, if I take a ball, bounce it on my finger, falls over. Okay? If I add rotation to that ball, what happens? Well, I'm not very good at it. What happens? That rotation stabilizes it. It stabilizes it. Okay? If I stand on one foot, I can do it pretty well. Most people can't make it a minute. I practice a lot. I run. I'm a strength coach. Other side, I can stabilize fairly well. However, I have a question. When people are walking, why don't we just tip over walking the same way we do when we're balancing? I'll tell you why. It's rotation. When we walk, we are stepping forward and we're adding rotation. Shoulders rotate right, pelvis rotates left, tibia, femur rotate inward, foot rotates outward. We're adding levels of rotation up and down our spine from our head to our foot. So it's keeping us stable, keeping us from tipping over. That rotation is where we get strength and power for walking and running. And I'll explain that with other sports. Some of the most powerful things in sport happen with rotation. Throwing a ball. How do we create power to throw a ball? With rotation. How do we create power for kicking a ball? Okay, get next to it. What happens? We rotate up, rotate forward, we kick the ball. Okay, baseball bat, same thing. How do we create power? Well, we rotate to create power. And all we're doing is we are rotating to create power. And in baseball, the bat is the linear part of the movement. And that's how we're transferring that power into movement of the ball. In walking, the only difference in walking and running is we're creating that rotation with our shoulder girdle, our pelvic girdle, and we're using our foot and our foot's ability to pronate and our tibia's ability to instantly rotate while that happens. We're using those in order to create forward movement. Okay? Our ankle and our foot take our rotational movement and turn it forward into linear movement. So, how do I take this information and put it into practice? I put it into practice by training my body to be strong during rotation. So let's clarify a little bit. I talked about tibial and femoral internal rotation, and I talked about the foot pronating. Internal rotation of the femur and the tibia are related up to the pelvis. Okay? So when we talk about rotation, we have to look at the joints above and bottom, above and below. So when I'm talking about walking, if I put my right foot down, right now, my femur is externally rotated. I'm going to internally rotate my femur on my pelvis as my pelvis comes forward. Okay. Now, in addition, if we look, as my foot pronates, okay, my foot's going to pronate, I get internal rotation of my tibia as well in comparison to my ankle. So, this is where we have to be a little bit careful of our words and our descriptions because we have to figure out what we're internally and externally rotating in comparison to. Just a little clarification for you. We're going to try to get back to that. Research shows that when we walk, when we run, when we utilize our body in motion, our body is most effective, our lower body especially, and is strongest when our big toe and the inside of our foot is on the ground. Okay, we talked about pronation and how pronation is how we take the rotation of our body and we turn it to linear movement. It requires pronation. Okay, so as my foot pronates, my arch flattens. When that arch flattens, okay, that's what moves us forward. When my foot flattens, my arch goes down, and my big toe hits the ground, that is when I have the most effective contraction of my hip adductors, my glutes, and my hamstrings as well. Okay, that's required. Now, why would I talk about adductors when I'm talking about rotation? If we look at the attachment of our adductors, they attach to the back of the femur, the posterior side of the femur. When they contract, one of the main things they do when they contract, especially in walking and running, is they help what's called externally rotate the femur. But let's look at the pelvis too. So as I land from right here, pelvis rotates, which is a femoral external rotation based on the pelvis, or we could say that the pelvis is rotating internally on the femur. This rotation is strongest, like I said, when our big toe is on the ground, that big, huge bone under my great toe. That's on the ground. These adductors fire better, they fire stronger. Biceps femoris fires stronger, glutes fire stronger. Forward movement is still due to gravity. Okay. What I'm saying is the job of the rotation and the job of our rotating while we're running is to keep us balanced. We stay balanced over our foot when we land by rotating. That's important because when we are running, there's only a split second where we need to be on the ground. Okay? When we run, we aren't pushing, we aren't pulling, we aren't jumping. We are literally just controlling our body weight, landing, and moving to the next step. Okay? Now, then why do I need to work on strength in order to run forward? If all I'm doing is falling forward to run, how come I have to get stronger? Well, your faster runners and your stronger runners, the reason they're faster, the reason they're stronger is because they are able to take their body weight, put it on the ground, and they are strong enough to spend less time on the ground to catch their body weight, control it, keep it balanced, and then let it go to the next step. Let me say that again. The stronger runners spend less time on the ground because they're strong enough to hit the ground in less time than a slower runner. They're able to control their weight, control their rotation, keep their body balanced, and then transition to the next step. Okay, now we can get a little bit more specific with that. Slower runners spend more time on the ground. Why do slower runners spend more time on the ground? They're not as strong. So if this is all true, and I'm going to try to break it down another day, if this is all true, how do I become a better runner? Well, I work on my ability and strength and mobility of rotation. Okay. Activities that I like to focus on when it comes to rotation. I'll do a banded rotation with a reverse stance. Okay. Same direction as I'm running. I'll do a single leg balance. I'll add a rotation. When I do this, if you notice, it's not easy because I'm moving slowly. I speed up that rotation and I have more control. That's not the goal of this one right now. I'm just looking at controlling mostly pronation, keep my foot on the ground, relax my toes, and move my hips around it. Other things I'm looking for are a straight leg raise with my foot turned out. Okay. The reason I'm turning my foot out is because I'm going to focus on those adductors. And if also you want some more glute medius, we can do a directionally specific glute medius activity. It's fantastic for running. That one is going to be laying on my side, turn my toe towards the ground, and if we look, the motion is right here. So I'm doing a 45-degree motion. Now I'm going to really focus on that glute medius because I'm adding the stretch like I discussed before, and then I'm moving through the motion, eccentric and concentric. I am going to work on more information here. I'm going to add it on another time, but my goal here is to reframe our thoughts and our teaching, and especially our rehabilitation of walking and running.